If only I had kept my mouth shut that day in the courtroom, my life wouldn't have been hanging in the balance. The judge's gavel hovered in the air. My aunt was crying. The entire gallery was staring at me like I was a criminal. Ungrateful, someone hissed from behind. My uncle stood there calmly, hand on his lawyer's shoulder, wearing the same gentle smile that had raised me after my father died. The same man who always said I was like a son to him. Then the judge looked straight at me and asked, "Mr. Daniels, this court needs to know why you waited 10 years to speak." My hands were shaking. Because if I told the truth, someone was going to prison. 10 years earlier, when my father died suddenly, I was 17 and completely broken. My uncle, Victor Daniels, stepped in like a savior. He paid for the funeral, moved me into his house, and promised to manage my father's small construction business until I was old enough. Everyone praised him. "You're lucky to have an uncle like Victor," they'd say. He gave me food, paid my school fees, and even gave me a job at his company. On paper, I had everything, but what no one saw was everything I was losing. The first red flag was the paperwork. Every time I asked about my father's company, Victor would smile and say, "Relax, you're still young." Bank statements never arrived at the house. Company emails went unanswered. My name slowly disappeared from documents that once carried my father's signature. When I asked relatives for help, they just laughed. "Don't bite the hand that feeds you," one told me. He's done more than enough, so I stayed quiet. And that was my first mistake. Things got worse when I turned 25. Victor suddenly asked me to sign a stack of routine documents. I noticed something strange. Every paper transferred ownership. Every signature erased my father's legacy just a little bit more. Then came the accidents. A former accountant who tried to help me was fired overnight. A lawyer I consulted warned me to let sleeping dogs lie. The real clue came by pure chance. While cleaning an old storage unit, I found a dusty ledger with my father's handwriting dates, figures, and one repeated note: "Trust Victor only until court approval." There had been no court approval, ever. I took the ledger to an old family friend, a retired judge. He went silent as he read. Then he looked at me and said, "Your uncle didn't manage the business. He stole it. Victor had illegally transferred assets, forged approvals, and used my age to run the clock until the statute of limitations almost expired." Almost. He was waiting for time to protect him. The judge said, "But time doesn't protect fraud." That night, I realized this wasn't generosity. It was a long con. To expose him, I needed proof the court couldn't ignore. I tracked down the fired accountant, recovered deleted emails, and subpoenaed old bank transfers. Just as I gathered everything, Victor called me personally. "Let's settle this privately," he said, offering me more money than I'd ever seen. For a moment, I almost accepted. Then he added, "After all I've done for you, don't embarrass me." That's when I knew. If I backed down now, I'd lose everything forever. The courtroom was packed. Victor's lawyer painted me as greedy and ungrateful. Then my lawyer stood up and said, "Your Honor, we'd like to submit Exhibit D, the ledger, the emails, the forged approvals." The room went silent. Victor's smile finally cracked. The judge leaned forward, flipping through the pages slowly. Finally, he looked up and said the words I lines never forget. This wasn't kindness. This was calculated theft. Victor collapsed into his chair. I heard handcuffs click. The business was returned. My father's name was restored. Outside the courthouse, the same people who called me ungrateful now avoided my eyes. The judge stopped me before leaving and said, "You were patient. But you were right. If only I had trusted my instincts sooner, I wouldn't have lost 10 years, but maybe I needed to lose them to win the truth." Sometimes the people who seem to help you the most are the ones counting on your silence. Gratitude should never, ever cost you justice. Thanks for listening.